We begin with dirty laundry in politics, literally. You first heard the Globe's report here in Greater Boston about the Randolph dry cleaner who says State Senator Brian Joyce was getting free services there, not just for himself, but for his family, sometimes his aides, for more than a decade. Last week on Boston Public Radio, Governor Charlie Baker weighed in.
In a situation like this where you have a private citizen speaking so forthrightly about a continuing pattern with respect to this type of activity, I think this is the sort of thing the Ethics Commission should take a really hard look at. There's enough there to justify a review, absolutely.
This is not the first time Joyce has faced ethics and campaign finance charges, some of which were resolved today. Joining me now for his first TV interview on the subject is State Senator Brian Joyce. Senator, I really appreciate your being here. You don't deny that you got thousands of dollars in free dry cleaning services. You contend nothing improper was done, correct? Why?
I unequivocally deny.
Why?
Because I was a uncompensated attorney and got as a token payment for legal services worth far more than any dry cleaning, some dry cleaning. And, you know, Jim, some of these suggestions go back to 1997. And, you know, I'd challenge you to find your dry cleaning receipt from 1997. We found one from 98. It was from a different dry cleaner. So let me just, can I just have an opportunity, because this has been going on a long time, to just speak about today's decisions. And
we're going to get to them in a second. I want to do the dry cleaning, then we'll get to today's decisions. You say you're uncompensated. He paid you at least $140,000 on one case, didn't he?
Absolutely not true.
Didn't pay you?
So the article contained a lot of information that I'm not able to speak about because of the attorney-client privilege.
You were never compensated?
The attorney-client privilege prevents me from being entirely forthcoming about issues, and the gentleman...
Including compensate. You just said
the gentleman refused to release me from that attorney-client privilege.
But Senator, you just, excuse me, you just said you weren't compensated.
Please give me a chance. What the article suggested, I think it was in paragraph 11, the one invoice that the Globe got their hands on showed some $12,500 in free legal services. That's a lot of dry cleaning.
So you were never compensated by this client?
I believe that article suggested he made a $5,000 payment for legal services that lasted over a decade and spanned many
That's
articles.
The only compensation?
There was some compensation paid by insurance companies that we went after on his behalf, including compensation that was paid to the client. And I'll tell you, in 2008, the client could not possibly have been happier with the results.
But Brian, Joyce, if I can be clear, you started representing him, according to the Globe story, in 2003. He contends he was doing dry cleaning for you for nothing 6 years earlier. So it couldn't have been a quid pro quo for legal services then, could it?
So what I had responded to the Globe was that we did not have records that predated 2003. And again, I would challenge you to produce some records pre-2003.
So you said you did represent him prior to 2003, or you didn't get free dry cleaning? I just want to be clear, Senator.
What I said was I was unable to speak to the issues that I represented this gentleman on without a release of the attorney-client privilege, which he... So
you think he's lying about you, by the way? What's his agenda?
Let me just put it in context.
Yeah.
Somebody's making accusations against you, and you're not able to respond, because legally and ethically, I'm bound by this attorney-client privilege. We asked him to release us. He didn't.
Is he lying about you?
So... let me suggest that there's some concern, apparently, by a decision of another attorney in a previous law firm, which I think was the right decision. I think there's some concern of my refusal to intercede on his behalf with the DEP.
So you think he has an axe to grind?
I do.
Do you agree with the governor that either the Ethics Commission or some appropriate body should look into this?
Look, I've had the Ethics Commission look at another matter. We're
going to get to that in a second, but how about this matter?
I'm sure they'll take a look at it.
And you're okay with that?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that on a couple of matters they were resolved today. Office of Campaign and Political Finance resolved at least one that had been pretty high profile, we discussed here before. You had used more than $3,000 in campaign funds to pay for part of a graduation party for your son. What was the disposition for this thing today?
So the law is quite clear in this, that a political candidate is able to use money for the enhancement of his or her political future. So we've held parties at our house in the past. We invite several hundred people. It was tied to, say, on one occasion, fundraising for the local library. In this one instance, it was tied to a graduation party. We were pretty careful. We had segregated the expenses that were personal in nature, paid for them personally. We relied on a prior decision of the Office of Campaign Political Finance. We also subsequently sought an opinion from an ethics, a campaign finance expert, the former House counsel, who said it was all completely, but the optics looked bad. So when the state Republican Party made a complaint, I said, look, why don't I just make a donation to charity?
Which is what the resolution
which
is.
What they
but you agree it looks
resolution.
really bad, does it not, that you're using, I'm using your words, does it not, even if it's technically on the up and up?
My words are that I did not violate any campaign finance laws. I have not done anything wrong. And in order to resolve this amicably, I said, look, I'll just donate the money to charity. And they said, fine.
But you agree it doesn't look good?
Absolutely.
One other issue was resolved today. The State Ethics Commission, on this issue, $10,000 or $11,000 in sunglasses you received. They said today, we are satisfied this matter does not require further action on our part, so it's over. But originally, you did get $10,000 plus in sunglasses for nothing. Is that not correct? And only after the Globe
Jim,
called you paid $3,000? Is that accurate or no?
I'm going to ask you please to give me an opportunity.
Of course.
Here. That could not possibly be more incorrect.
How so?
So I visited a business in my district in November, I believe it was, of 2014. And at that time, as we do every year, we buy gifts for our colleagues representative of our district. And so I suggested I would buy sunglasses from a business in my district. The year before, I bought pens from a business in my district. The gentleman asked me how much I wanted to spend. I said, I don't know, $50. The glasses came with an invoice. I immediately had a call suggesting that it was illegal for me to give gifts to my colleagues, which I knew that to not be the case. And then there was a suggestion that somehow I was not paying the right amount. I immediately got on the phone with the owner of the business and said, look, I didn't ask for any break. And he said, I know that. And I had on the phone with me, by the way, the former general counsel of the State Ethics Commission. And I said, well, where did you come up with this price for these glasses? They could have been plastic for all I cared. And the gentleman said, I think that was a fair price. And the person on the phone with me said, what's your published price? He said $74.50. And that's exactly what I paid. I paid exactly $74.50 for each of the 46 pair of sunglasses.
Was that before or after the Globe contacted you about that?
As I just said, it was after. It was. I visited the place. I picked up the glasses. I had the invoice. We pay on a net 30 basis. There was never any intention to get. I mean, any suggestion, Jim, that I was looking to get free sunglasses is just simply false. Any suggestion that these were 11,000, you're comparing. There was a comparison, I think, to Ray-Ban sunglasses. Mm-hmm. These weren't Ray-Ban sunglasses. Let me just please make a point.
Sure.
So there were two allegations made. One was that somehow I had got some inappropriate benefit from a business in my district. That was made on January 30th.
Which is this?
This is the sunglass company.
Okay.
That was made on January 30th, 2015. In the year that has elapsed, that story ran in print over 50 times. It ran electronically in social media over 500 times.
But it was resolved today.
And it was resolved, and let's be clear, it was resolved. The State Ethics Commission did a thorough investigation and found nothing wrong.
Got it.
But it's hard for me to get, I can't compete with the media, but to get that word out. I have.
Well, you could have competed. You chose not to speak to the reporter from the Boston Globe when these stories were running. You could have given your side of it then, could you not?
Jim, I did almost nothing else. We've been responding to questions for the past 13 months, day in and day out. Almost nothing else. It is. But these stories are they've hurt me personally, professionally, and politically. I get that. But it also hurts, my family reads this stuff. My friends, my father, my children, my wife, my constituents, my clients. So the point I want to make is after 550 plus stories, the Ethics Commission determined there's nothing there. And please, I want to make that clear.
Well, I've just read it. I read it verbatim. One last thing. Speaking of Ethics Commission, my understanding is there is a matter pending relating to you. Is the company Energize? Is that how you pronounce it? This is a firm you represent. You supported a bill in the legislature that was promoted by them without publicly disclosing that they were your client in your law firm. Is that accurate so far?
No.
You didn't disclose. You did disclose it.
So let me just say that I acted entirely appropriately, and there'll be a determination coming out on that.
Did you disclose that they were your client as well as when you were filing their bill in the legislature?
The first part of your question was wrong, that I supported a bill that was for their benefit.
You
That's
didn't.
absolutely not true.
They would receive no benefit from this
Correct.
firm. How about the fact that it's contended you approached state regulators on their behalf, which is clearly in violation of law, if it's true? Did you do that?
Not clearly in violation of law.
Lawmakers cannot contact state officials on behalf of private clients for pay. Did you contact the state regulators on behalf of that client?
So there's two issues there. For compensation, no. In ministerial matters are allowed, yes.
And that's all you're saying,
Yes.
Justin, you did. Just a couple of quick things. If you did nothing wrong, and that's essentially what you've said here for 10 minutes, Senator Joyce, why
But it's
did
not
you...
just what I said. It's what the State Ethics Commission
Well, there's
said,
still things that are
and it's what
pending.
the Office of Campaign Political Finance said.
The cleaning thing is pending. The Energize thing is pending. We talked about the two things that were resolved. But, Senator, if you did nothing wrong, why did you agree to surrender to leadership positions in the Senate?
So it became, there was a story and a story and a story and a story. So I didn't want to be a distraction at all. And so there was a suggestion on the pages of the Globe, why doesn't he step aside? So I stepped aside.
You did it because the Globe suggested it.
Basically, yes.
What if your colleagues said to you, where they think based on the current state of affairs, whether you consider it rational or not, that they'd like you to step down totally or resign? What would you do?
I don't think that's going to happen, Jim.
What if it did?
And well, I think it's, it's a little bit unfair for you to suppose, A, that there's something there when the first two rulings that have come out have shown that I did nothing wrong.
But you agree there is a serious appearance of impropriety, at least on the issue, the first issue we discussed with your kid's graduation party, no? And couldn't you say the same thing about the sunglasses issue? Even with your description to a constituent,
No.
it doesn't look kosher?
I mean, portrayed in the manner it was and repeated some 550 times, it appears not to be kosher. But, look, I do the best I can. I'm not perfect. I work very hard on behalf of my constituents. I work very hard on behalf of my clients. This has been brutal on my family, and for that I'm incredibly sorry. I know that we have to avoid even the appearance of impropriety, and I do the best I can, and I know I can improve upon that. But the two accusations that have been determined by the appropriate bodies have been determined to be false, and that I did nothing wrong.
Senator Joyce, I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much for coming here.